Every guitar player, regardless of skill level, wants to be better at alternate picking, myself included. So for the past 30 days, I only practiced alternate picking. My goal was to be able to cleanly alternate pick 16th notes at 180 BPM. So in this video, I'll be sharing 10 things I learned from doing this challenge. At the end of the video, I'll reveal whether or not I accomplished that goal. The short answer is it's complicated. And guys, just being real here, if you can't sit through this entire video, you're clearly not serious about being a better guitar player. My average practice session lasted for 52 minutes and 11 seconds. If you can't spend 20 minutes one time to just sit on your ass and watch this video to improve your alternate picking, you are a hopeless fucking TikTok brains loser. I already did the work for you. All you have to do is watch. If you can't even do that, then perhaps you should consider taking up cigarettes. Moving forward. So what exactly did my practice routine consist of over the past 30 days? Well, all I did was practice the harmonic minor scale modes using 3 notes per string. I practiced in all 12 keys and at a variety of tempos. When it came to filming, I decided to just film one key to keep things consistent. So let's have a look at day 1 now so you can see what I'm talking about. So my practice routine was just that, but with some other keys and other tempos as well. By the way, if you want a free PDF summary of this video along with the exact practice routine that I used, then you can go ahead and download that. The link will be in the description. My starting tempo was 160, but to be honest, I was already pushing my limits quite a lot by starting with that tempo. You see, I can't just sit down and grab my guitar and start playing 16th notes at 160. I have to warm up first. So every practice session involved a warm-up process. To warm up, I would just play through different keys and gradually increase the tempo. I'd start at 130, then play a different key at 140 and just repeat this process until I reached my max tempo for that day. At that point, I would then set up my camera and film myself going through the modes of C harmonic minor. This is literally all I did for the past 30 days. I also timed each practice session, and on average, they lasted for 52 minutes and 11 seconds. Not even a full hour. And something I really want to emphasize is that the hardest part of this process was just practicing when I didn't feel like it. If it was already 10 p.m. on a Saturday night, Jesus Christ, I did not want to practice. All right, it's day 6 of the challenge. It's March 29th, and the time is 10:20 p.m. And the reason that I show this is because it's Saturday night, it's 10:20 p.m. I just ordered a pizza and I want to eat it, and I don't really want to practice right now. I really have to force myself to practice this right now. But I practiced anyway, damn it. Look, guitar chefs, I understand the struggle. You might be surprised to hear me admit this, but I understand that sometimes it's hard to find motivation to practice. But now that you know what my practice routine consisted of, let's now watch the time lapse of day 1 through 30 so you can see how I did. Whoa! It seems I've achieved my goal of being able to pick 16th notes at 180. Well, not quite, but more on that later. Also, just a quick reminder that 52 Week Guitar Player will be reopening on June 11th to waiting list members and June 15th to the rest of the public. The link to the waiting list can be found in the description, but more on that later too. There are 10 lessons I took away from this experience, and I'm going to share those with you right now. Lesson 1. Pick slanting is not helpful. Some of you may be familiar with the technique known as pick slanting. It's when you slant your pick up or down to avoid bumping into other strings when you're picking fast. Pick slanting can be very helpful when picking an even group of notes like 4 notes per string or 6 notes per string. But when playing an odd group of notes like 3 or 5, it's very unhelpful. At least this was my experience. I found the more I thought about pick slanting, the harder it became to alternate pick. Whereas the less I thought about it, the easier it became. And to my surprise, I kind of did it naturally anyway. To consciously think about your pick slanting direction at these speeds is just not practical. Again, I think if you're picking 4 or 6 notes per string, then pick slanting can be very helpful. But when picking 3 or 5 notes per string, this technique really pisses me off. But I'm not even mad. Lesson 2. The muscles being used to practice at slower tempos are not the same muscles that are being used to practice at faster tempos. I always kind of knew this, but to literally see the difference was quite surprising. When I saw this, I felt really weird about it because I always tell my students to stay relaxed when picking fast and trying to develop their speed. Yet here I am being totally not relaxed as I pushed myself to the limit. This really made me rethink my approach, and the conclusion I came to is this. When pushing your speed to the absolute limit, I think it's okay to not be totally relaxed as long as you don't over practice. During the beginning of this challenge, I started experiencing pain in my shoulder when going hard. And this was really shitty because I just started the challenge and I thought I was already gonna have to stop. But I continued on anyway because I was really only experiencing this pain at the end of my practice sessions. And eventually the pain went away. Now, I'm not necessarily recommending you practice through pain, but I do believe the body will adjust to some extent. I was pushing myself beyond what I was used to, and eventually, my body got used to it. I'm also young and fit. If I were 60 and out of shape, I'm not sure this would be the best approach. And toward the end of the challenge, not only did I stop feeling pain altogether, but I also noticed I became more relaxed at tempos that used to make me tense up, like 160. So in short, at the beginning, I was not very relaxed, but in the end stages, I was more so. Lesson 3. You have to practice faster than your goal tempo. Earlier, I said that my goal was 180, but truth be told, it was really 170. But nonetheless, I decided to shoot for 180. This is why toward the end, like on days 26 through 29, I practiced at tempos that exceeded 180. My thinking is that if I legitimately tried to nail those faster tempos, then 180 would feel easy in comparison. I was right, but god damn, it was still really hard. But even better, it made 170 much easier for me. This is a great way to approach practicing because it over prepares you. If you're ever going to perform something technically challenging, I would encourage you to practice it faster than necessary. Then when you bring it back down to the original tempo, it'll feel easier in comparison. This isn't some crazy secret. Sometimes you just have to go for that fast tempo and clean things up later. By the way, if you want a free PDF summary of this video along with the exact practice routine I used, link in description. Lesson 4. Keep your picking window small. This is called economy of motion. You don't want a wide picking window like this. Instead, you want it to be small, like this. The ladies love a small picked man, or a small picking window, or whatever. There's a joke in there somewhere. Lesson 5. Repetition without correction is pointless. Obviously, I learned some shit during this challenge. Otherwise, I wouldn't have these 10 lessons for you. But if I didn't act on what I was learning, I wouldn't improve. Guitar chefs, you have to put in the reps, but mindless reps are not gonna help you. The reason you put in reps is because they'll teach you something. The mistakes will reveal themselves to you. Once you identify the mistakes, you can fix them. Now, that's a pretty good observation, isn't it? And I really hate when other online guitar instructors say that reps don't work. If I may, I would like to reword their sentence. Reps without refinement don't work. Reps with refinement do work. Just think about how ludicrous of a statement it is to say that reps don't work. Tell that to fucking Michael Jordan. Stop shooting free throws, MJ. They don't work. Get the fuck out of here. Lesson 6. The faster you want to play guitar, the more you have to think about your picking direction. The deeper I got into this challenge, the more attention I had to pay to my picking direction. I was practicing scales using 3 notes per string until I had to turn around. Once I got to the high E, I had to come back this direction. So when I was on the high E string, I was actually picking 5 notes, not 3. My main point here is that the direction I picked each string when I got there was the same both ways. This is absolute, by the way. It will not change. As long as you play a scale using 3 notes per string and turn around at the high E, this should be the direction of each picking stroke, assuming you start with a downstroke and alternate pick everything. When I got into the 170/180 territory, I really had to keep this in mind because often what would happen is I would know which direction I was supposed to be picking, but I'd be going so fast that I just fuck it up and go in the wrong direction or bump into other strings. By the way, I'll quickly remind you at this time that 52-Week Guitar Player will be reopening for enrollment in mid-June, and we'll only be accepting 100 new students when we reopen, but more on that later. Lesson 7. You only need 15 minutes per day of guitar practice to maintain your speed. Notice I said maintain, not improve. This was something I noticed during this experience because my warm-up sessions would often be 15 to 20 minutes depending on how fast I wanted to go. All right, it's day 19, and what I'm discovering today is the fact that I've been warming up now for about 10 minutes. And I'm still gonna warm up for another 5 minutes to get to 175-ish. That's what I'm shooting for. Actually, probably 180. Anyway, my point being is if you have 15 minutes per day, you can maintain your chops. At least your alternate picking chops. That's all you need. You just gotta stay consistent, which is I know where most of you guys will fuck up. I think people really overestimate the amount of time required to simply maintain your skill level on guitar. Now, I get having a career and a family and all that other psychopathic shit, but everyone has 15 minutes. If you think you don't, you're just full of shit. The only reason you wouldn't pick up your guitar for 15 minutes is because you don't have the mental energy required to practice. And if you aren't willing to use mental energy, you should just quit. Because honestly, that's just pathetic. You scroll on your phone for way longer than that. Lesson 8. You have to actually focus on moving your right hand. A problem I kept encountering when doing this challenge is the fact that when I got to the B and the E strings, it would feel like my right hand was glued to the fucking body of the guitar and I couldn't move it. The fact that I was really sweaty may have had something to do with this. But my point is, you have to actually move your right hand when you pick. You can't just let it stay in one spot. Sometimes I'd even wear a wristband to give myself more mobility. This way my arm wouldn't get stuck to the guitar from my sweat. You can do this too if you'd like, but in general, I prefer to not be dependent on external resources because if you find yourself in a situation where you don't have one, oh, you're a bit fucked, mate. Lesson 9. Don't squeeze the shit out of the pick and don't pick the strings super fucking hard. All you need is a light touch. More specifically, you only have to hold the pick tight enough so that it doesn't fall out of your hands. And you only need to pick the string hard enough to make sound. You don't need to pick through it like you're trying to cut through it or some shit. If this is a bad habit you formed over time, it just means you're an idiot. But perhaps now you can work on undoing this bad habit and improve your speed thanks to my world-class advice that I'm also giving you for free, by the way. You're welcome! And lesson 10. To really get better at guitar, you have to sweat when you practice. If you aren't sweating, you aren't trying hard enough. I'm sweating just fucking sitting here. You can see on my fretboard. I don't know if you noticed, but for much of this challenge, I was wearing athletic clothing, and that's because I'd sweat so damn much. It really sucked actually because my ass would sweat and it would be uncomfortable as fuck, and I hated it. But I accepted that this was the cost of building speed. It's quite physical practice, which is also why a warm-up is necessary. Also, on the topic of physiological bullshit, I also noticed that breathing was very helpful. Specifically taking really big deep breaths through the nose and exhaling through the mouth. I'll play you a clip with just camera audio so you can hear me do this. Now, do you remember at the start of this video when I said how at the end I would be revealing whether or not I accomplished my goal of being able to pick 16th notes at 180? At the end of the video, I'll reveal whether or not I accomplished that goal. Well, the time has come. And the short answer is no! And that's because the faster you play, the more specific you have to be with your picking. During my 30-day alternate picking challenge, there actually were some moments when I played 16th notes faster than 180. On day 27, I played at 185, and it sounded pretty clean. But over the past 30 days, all I really did was get good at practicing that scale and the other harmonic minor scale modes using 3 notes per string. Getting good at that specifically doesn't translate to other licks and riffs. My goal was to be able to play 16th notes at 180. Did I achieve that? Technically, yes. But what you didn't hear were my multiple attempts to actually get a good take. Out of every 10 takes I did, only about 1 to 2 were good. Also, if I really want to play at 180, I have to warm up for like 20 minutes beforehand. So to say that I can now play at 180 isn't really accurate. I started this challenge at 160, and I do think I got better. Perhaps I even increased my baseline picking speed. But my point is, even after this 30-day challenge, my results are honestly kind of minimal. Some of you fucks are probably relieved to hear that, because now you can excuse yourself from doing a 30-day challenge. People significantly underestimate the effort needed to increase your skill. I said increase, by the way, not maintain. I find that students are constantly frustrated because they're not progressing fast enough. And if you relate to that, it's simply because you do not understand how much practice is required to develop your skill. Like, you just don't get it. Your lack of patience is the exact reason you will not achieve what you're being impatient about. I play at a professional level, and I only got a tiny bit better from this 30-day challenge. And people get pissed off because they can't sound how they want after 3 days. If this is you, I strongly consider you reset your expectations. Yes, it's going to take longer than you think. Yes, you're going to feel like you're not making progress. No, there are no shortcuts. Doing a 30-day challenge is one of the closest things you can get to a shortcut. And when people try to take shortcuts, it actually just ends up taking them longer because they waste a bunch of time doing things the wrong way, only then to pivot and do things the right way. If they just did things the right way from the start, they would have gotten there much faster. So what is the right way? Understand that you aren't going to speed run becoming an advanced guitar player. Stay consistent over time, put in reps with refinement, and get feedback from someone ahead of you. Don't underestimate the power of getting feedback from someone who knows what they're doing. This can literally save you years of mistakes. This is probably the only thing that you could qualify as a true shortcut. So if you'd like to learn more from me, consider signing up to the 52-week guitar player waiting list. We'll be reopening for enrollment in mid-June. We'll open to the waiting list members on June 11th and then the rest of the public on June 15th. If you'd like a more personalized guitar learning experience, you can get help directly from myself or another professional from my team. And we'll only be accepting 100 new students when we reopen. Sign up to the waiting list now to be among the first in line. You have nothing to lose by signing up to the waiting list. And even if you don't end up enrolling in this program, at least you'll have the option. Whereas if you didn't sign up to the waiting list, you may not even get the chance. I hope this video was helpful, but if not, then go fuck yourself. Now just leave.